Hey Queen, Coach B here, helping women break free from toxic relationship habits so they can stop the cycle and build healthy, happy connections while loving themselves first. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into something that a lot of people don't talk about, but it's so very important for healing and building healthy relationships. How what we pick up from our caretakers shape the way we love ourselves and the way we show up in relationships. So, if you've ever found yourself in the same toxic relationship patterns or struggling with self-worth, you might want to grab a notebook, okay? Because I'm going to walk you through how these things can affect you and how to start healing from them, okay? So, you ready? Let's get into it. I am light. Okay, so we all know that our parents are a huge influence in shaping how we view the world and ourselves. But here's the thing. Sometimes it's the things they didn't teach us or the things that were left unsaid that stick with us the most, right? Let's start with emotional neglect. Now, I'm not saying that our parents were horrible or didn't love us, because I know mine did. It's just that maybe they didn't always know how to properly validate our feelings or show us how to express emotions healthily, right? So this could look like when a parent shuts you down, shuts down your emotions or tells you to just get over there somewhere and sit down. Instead of letting you feel what you need to feel. Maybe they didn't show you how to navigate tough emotions. I know growing up with that, we often think that our emotions are too much or we can't express them without feeling, like a burden. Okay, but this affects relationships later on, because if we do not know how to properly express how we feel, we end up bottling things up until it explodes, or we suppress them. We keep them inside thinking that, they're not important. We might also think that our feelings don't matter, leading us to settle in relationships where we weren't emotionally supported. And then there's low self-worth. If your parents always emphasized perfection or only gave you love when you achieved something, you might have picked up the belief that you're only lovable when you're perfect. That's a huge one. Self-worth shouldn't be tied to performance or approval from others. But growing up with this idea can make you feel like you need to prove yourself to be loved, right? And that, my friend, leads to relationships where we're constantly overgiving or pleasing others just to feel accepted or valued. Another thing is communication patterns. If you saw your parents argue in unhealthy ways or avoid conflict entirely, you learn that unhealthy communication is normal. And that could mean you either end up bottling your feelings until you explode, or avoid confrontation, letting things slide, even when it's affecting your happiness. Now let's talk about how all this plays out in relationships. You might notice that you've been stuck in the same type of relationship over and over again. Maybe you pick partners who aren't emotionally available, or you always seem to end up with people who don't treat you the way you deserve. Here's the thing, Queen. You attract what you believe. If you don't think you're worthy of real love, you might end up in relationships where you're constantly seeking approval from them or feeling like you're never enough. And if you've learned to suppress your feelings because you didn't get the emotional support you needed growing up, guess what you might do? Shut down emotionally in relationships, or feel like it's wrong to even have emotions. Yeah. And here's something else. We tend to repeat the patterns we saw growing up. If your caretaker have unhealthy relationship dynamics, like not showing affection or dealing with conflict in a toxic way, you might intentionally repeat those behaviors in your own relationships. You might not even realize you're doing it, but you're repeating what feels familiar, even if it's unhealthy. So let's talk about codependency. If you grew up with a caretaker who was emotionally unavailable or controlling, you might think you need to take care of everyone and put everyone's needs above your own. This can show up in relationships where you overgive, you neglect your own needs and stay in unhealthy situations just to feel needed or wanted. Okay, now that we've covered how all these patterns can affect your love life, let's talk about how to break free from them. I know that sounds like a lot to unpack, but trust me, it's possible. Here's how we can start healing. First thing we got to do, we got to recognize those patterns. First, you need to recognize your patterns, okay, that were passed down. If you feel like you're repeating the same mistakes in relationships, it's time to ask, where did I learn this? Journal on it, reflect on it, and really dig deep into what was modeled for you growing up. Set healthy boundaries, okay, because boundaries are so important. If you grew up in a household where boundaries weren't respected, it might be hard to know what boundaries what they even look like. You get to decide that. You get to decide what you'll tolerate in your relationships now, okay? So start by setting small boundaries, whether it's saying no to something you don't want to do or communicating your feelings honestly, okay? Honestly. Remember that your emotions are valid, even if no one showed you how to express them. Start honoring your feelings. When you feel angry, sad, hurt, don't push it down. Let yourself feel. Once you get comfortable feeling your emotions, it will be easier to communicate them in relationships. Okay? One of the biggest steps to healing is the inner child, doing the inner child work. Your younger self is still inside you and they need healing. Give yourself the love and care you didn't get as a child. This is ongoing. This is an ongoing process, but it will help you build the foundation for healthier relationships moving forward. Okay? And so the next thing you need to do is understand that your worth isn't tied to anyone else's approval. When you truly love yourself, you'll stop seeking validation from others. This will change the dynamic of your relationships because you'll stop accepting less than you deserve. Okay? All right. So listen, beautiful. If you're ready to take the next step in your healing journey, I've got something special for you. Yes, I do. I created a freebie to help you start identifying these patterns and begin the healing process. Okay? You can download it through the link in the description. Okay? And if you're really ready to dive deep and break those toxic cycles for good, I am offering a free workshop where we'll work together to heal past wounds, build self-worth, and start attracting the love and respect that you deserve. The waiting list is open and I'd love for you to be a part of it, okay? Start building that foundation. Remember, healing is a journey and you don't have to do it alone. Start today and let's build the love and, the life that you truly deserve. All right, Queen. Listen, I love you, love you, love you. And like I always say, you better love you first. Bye-bye.